The Senate chamber was tense, so tense you could hear the hum of the overhead lights and the faint rustle of papers as reporters shifted in their seats. Everyone knew something big was about to happen. Senator John Kennedy had just been recognized to speak, and across from him sat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, her chin lifted with confidence, eyes steady. The two had clashed before in interviews and policy debates, but never like this. Cameras were rolling, every lens aimed to capture the collision between two of Washington's most outspoken voices. "Mr. President," Kennedy began, his southern drawl smooth yet sharp as a blade, "I've heard some remarkable statements from my colleague today. Statements that sound mighty good in the area but crumble under the weight of reality." The crowd leaned in. Kennedy wasn't one for fancy rhetoric, he preferred facts, humor, and brutal honesty. Omar had just finished a passionate speech criticizing U.S. foreign policy and accusing members of both parties of turning a blind eye to global injustice. Her words had stirred the room, even drawn a few quiet nods. But Kennedy wasn't swayed. He stepped forward, holding a thick binder that looked like it could contain the history of the world. "Let's talk about facts," he said firmly, flipping it open. "Let's talk about what actually happened, not what we wish happened." Omar leaned back, folding her arms, ready to defend her points. The senator's voice, though calm, carried the weight of a man who had spent his life studying not just law and policy but people. "You say America doesn't care for the oppressed," he continued, "but last year alone, this country gave over $47 billion in foreign aid. That's more than any nation on earth. And when hurricanes, earthquakes, and wars strike, who's the first to send doctors, soldiers, and supplies? Not Russia, not China. It's us." The audience murmured. Kennedy's words weren't angry, they were precise. He wasn't attacking Omar personally, he was dissecting her argument with the surgeon's precision. He held up a photo of U.S. soldiers delivering food to a refugee camp. These folks didn't ask what religion the hungry people believed in. They didn't ask who they voted for. They just helped. "That's America." Omar tried to interject, but Senator Kennedy held up a hand, his voice gentle but unyielding. "I admire your passion, Congresswoman. You care deeply about human rights and so do I. But let's not forget, compassion without truth is chaos. We can't fix what we refuse to understand." The chamber went silent again. Kennedy turned another page, this time showing charts, data, and international reports that contradicted Omar's claims. But what struck everyone wasn't the data, it was the tone. He wasn't mocking her, he was teaching. He spoke with conviction, but also empathy, as if trying to remind everyone in the room that the truth wasn't an enemy, it was a bridge. As the minutes passed, even Omar's expression softened. Kennedy spoke about his own upbringing in Louisiana, about growing up in a working-class family that knew struggle but never stopped believing in America's goodness. "This country isn't perfect," he said. "Lord knows we've stumbled plenty. But when I see folks risk their lives just to get here, I'm reminded that the dream's still alive. The world's still watching USA, not because we're flawless, but because we keep trying." Then he looked directly at Omar, his voice steady but sincere. "You came to this country seeking hope, and I respect that. But don't forget, hope comes with responsibility. You have the right to speak truth to power, but you also have the duty to be accurate when you do. Because when you twist facts, you don't just hurt politicians, you hurt the very people you're trying to protect." For a moment, there was no sound and no movement, just the echo of Kennedy's words hanging in the chamber like smoke after a fire. Reporters froze, unsure whether to write or just listen. Omar, to her credit, didn't lash out. Her face showed something rare for Washington, humility. When she finally spoke, her voice was quiet. "Senator Kennedy," she said, "you're right about one thing. I let anger cloud my judgment. I wanted to wake people up, but maybe I forgot to listen first." Kennedy nodded, not triumphantly but kindly. "It happens to all of us, ma'am. The truth's not our enemy, it's our compass." The chamber broke into applause, some hesitant, some thunderous. Kennedy didn't bask in it. He simply closed his binder and took his seat, calm as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But the nation saw it differently. Within hours, the clip of his speech went viral. Social media exploded with comments, Kennedy just dropped a masterclass in leadership. Others said, he didn't destroy her, he showed her grace. By the next morning, major networks were replaying the exchange, calling it one of the most powerful moments in recent congressional history. It wasn't just about politics, it was about truth, humility, and the courage to admit when we're wrong. A week later, Omar and Kennedy appeared together in a televised town hall about bipartisan cooperation. The two laughed, debated, and even agreed on several reforms. Kennedy's closing words that night echoed across millions of homes. In a world full of shouting, sometimes the loudest voice is the one that stays calm and speaks truth. The story ended not in bitterness, but in respect. Two people from vastly different worlds, one from the Deep South, one from war-torn Somalia, had found common ground through honesty and grace. And that, as Kennedy later told a reporter with a grin, is how democracy's supposed to work.